From the busy streets of New York City and the luscious mountains in Denver, Colorado, this is the Winter Fanboys podcast, produced by First Base Studios. I'm Adam.
I'm Ben.
And now, let's Christmas. And we are back. Ben, I have to ask you, has much changed since our last episode?
Oh, so much. I feel like a different person. It's been about 15 minutes, maybe less than that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. We're giving you a little inside baseball here.
Sorry. I'm
We're
outing
recording
us.
them. Yeah.
It's been at least a day between the episodes.
I wanted you to out us anyway. We are recording all 5. Maybe there's going to be 6 episodes. I'm not sure how many yet. I don't know. I kind of make this up as I go. We're recording them all at once. We're doing one sitting because Ben is just so popular. Oh, that just hit the mic. That probably made a sound. It's okay. We'll move on in life.
Well, we figured the way our friendship works best is if we just try to cram it all in at one moment and say like, that's it, right? You get your quota in and then you're good to go.
That's it. You've hit the Adam threshold and you're like, that's enough.
Well, it's like, you make your New Year's resolution to start working out. And then you don't work out for 11 and a half months. And you get to that last 2 weeks and you're like, I got to get it all in. I got to get strong. And you go to the gym for 16 hours in one day. And then you're strong and you've hit your quota. Right? 16
hours. I've spent my entire day at the gym. Been here the whole day.
I've strong.
I've gone through and did multiple cycles. Don't worry, I did my bench, but I waited at least 30 minutes before I went back to it.
You do 30 minutes of bench, and then you do your legs, and then you do your abs, and then you've waited a while for your bench, and so you go back to your bench, and then you do your legs, and you do your abs, and then you do maybe some yoga for a bit, and then you go back to the bench.
And just to bring us back on topic, because we are talking about our friends over at the Winter Failure, not to be confused with our friends at the gym. I don't have any friends at the gym. I barely go to the gym. Where he's like, we should cancel Planet Fitness. But I also think Planet Fitness is it's only $10, Adam. It's $10.
You know what would make the gym better? Is if they played the Winter Failure.
Oh!
The band that makes the most original Christmas music that no one's ever heard of.
Oh, come on. There it is. There's the plug. Cha-ching.
There it is.
Whatever we said on the first episode, that wasn't it.
That was who. We don't even know who those guys were. They're gone now. We kicked them out.
Clearly not professionals.
Yeah.
Ben, you still drinking your Christmas cinnamon buns?
Well, it's been an entire day, but I'm still drinking the same Santa Claus beer. I just put it in the fridge for a bit. You know when you just kind of save a beer for later, put it in the fridge, come back to it a day or two later, finish it off.
And you're like, this is kind of flat. It's a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Right. I want my beers flat, but still cold.
I'm always like at a bar. Hey, is there any way, did you have any beers that you opened yesterday that just never got drank? They're like, did you? Yeah. Go. Make the segue.
I don't want to cut you off. I'm so sorry. But speaking of cold, there's this forest that these strange things are coming out of. Oh, they're creeping towards us, Adam. Oh no, they're outside the window. What are we going to do? Who is
window. It's the Christmas Ghouls.
The first song is the Christmas Ghouls on this album.
It is. I think it's just called Christmas Ghouls, not the Christmas Ghouls.
So an explicit podcast.
Are we? We are.
Okay,
I put it on there. Even when I know we're not doing it, I just put it on there because I guarantee you one of us said something.
Right.
So I give fair warning.
Mm-hmm.
But what did I want to say?
Christmas
I lost
Ghouls.
it. It's gone. Christmas Ghouls. Oh, so what I didn't say in the first episode, 20 minutes ago, what we should talk about is how we're going to go through these songs. We're going to try to keep the podcast a little bit shorter. We're starting off on a really good foot right now, spending the first 3-4 minutes talking about Planet Fitness in the gym. So we're doing great. But we're going to try to keep them shorter, more concise, and we're going to hit 3 points. That's going to be, the music. Mm-hmm. So that's the instrumental, maybe
the soundy
melodic
bits.
Lines. Yeah. What'd you say?
The soundy bits.
Yeah, the soundy bits. I thought you said the soundiness, but soundy bits.
Yeah, soundiness is better. That's better what I said.
And then we're going to talk about the lyrics, which oddly enough for me are very hard because we don't have a lyric sheet still. We've talked about it. This is our third time doing this. Is our fourth podcast, by the way, fourth time doing it. So didn't say that in the intro, but we've done it 4 times now.
The vibe, right?
We're going to finally talk about the overall vibe of the song. Mm-hmm. We're probably not going to go in that order, right? So I want to kick off Christmas Ghouls because I think the vibe of this song, I want to share with you my thoughts on it. Okay. So at first pass, I said, what is happening? And I knew Dave wrote the song. And I was like, what is going on this song? Because I couldn't tell in my ear what key we're in. Not that I could tell what key we're in. It almost sounded like we were he was borderline playing with, I don't want to say that he was trying to sound out of tune, but it almost was some of the stuff was just crunching up against this, to me it just sounded like it wanted to, it was crunching up against between being in tune and out of tune. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I think he's doing it on purpose. And it took me more passes to kind of listen to the song and to be like, this song gives me Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, Money. The song Money, where they do the cashier, the change, and then the cash register. So the very beginning of it reminds me of that because it's chains, right? I'm assuming it's chains.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the song takes me on what I feel like would be, I don't do drugs, so I don't know what an acid trip would be, but I feel like this is where we would be trying to go if I was going on one.
Like a Christmas acid trip in the woods.
Acid trip in the woods, seeing the Christmas Ghouls.
Christmas Ghouls, a Christmas acid trip in the woods. Yeah, we're an honest podcast. First time I listened to the song, I heard the first little moment, and then it's got that little transition in as it kind of passes into a tunnel or something. The effect that Dave puts on it, and I'm like, all right.
No, he was going through a tunnel.
He's going through a tunnel while he's recording, and then there's this kind of I think it's there's this picking in the background that feels off key, atonal, something weird, and I'll be honest, the first time I listened to this song, I just didn't like it at all. I just was what is going on? It just doesn't work for me. But yeah, giving it another go because because we gotta give it another go. I found it's kind of grown on me for sure. And yeah, the overall kind of feeling of the song, it's weird. It's a weird song. It feels strange. It feels kind of uncomfortable. It feels to me, it feels almost like it's like Christmas in the way that the Gremlins movies are Christmas. Have you ever seen Gremlins?
I've seen parts of it, but
okay.
Are they considered Christmas?
They take place during Christmas. At least the first one does. I can't remember the second one really. So, but it's oh, this is technically Christmas, but it's kind of there's weird stuff going on. But I will say the hook in the song is pretty, it feels like it kind of gives you something to hold on to. And now having listened to it a bunch of times, it's an interesting production. It's kind of fun to tune in to different parts of the song and try to pick out what's going on. Listening to the drums a bit and trying to make out what's going on with this these weird I wrote them down as like these like weird like wailing sounds that the song makes.
Yeah.
And like it does kind of sound a little ghoulish. I'll give him that. Like it's like, uh not quite like Nightmare Before Christmas kind of ghoulish, but it is kind of funky. Yeah, so those kind of my initial impressions. The sort of the vibe of the song to me is like, I mean, I think Christmas Acid Trip in the Woods is not bad. Sort of like the theme song to some sort of like weird Christmas like B movie horror film kind of thing.
Yeah, to kind of take us towards the music a little bit. You talked about the wailing. I thought it was interesting how he played with the lines of the backup vocals and how it sounded like wind. Or how he's also playing an instrument. I don't know what instrument he's playing that's making it sound like that as well. And the backup vocals also sound like it's like I'm in the woods. I actually listened to the song Walking Through the North Woods in Central Park.
Oh, how'd that feel?
And it's kind of like bare there right now because all the leaves are gone and it's winter. It's not officially winter. I lied. It's still fall, but it's almost officially winter. And all the leaves are bare. And that was my Bluetooth speaker. Thank you. I forgot to turn it off. And I listened to it on purpose walking through the woods because I was like, maybe I can kind of feel like how the wind blows through naked trees. So like if you think about I think of like the wind when when the trees are full of leaves, it kind of keeps it up in the air almost, like it keeps it floating, versus when they're naked, it kind of goes through. So like in the city or in a city, the wind kind of hits down the streets, right? Because there's just nothing for it to like kind of pass it around, so it's bouncing off buildings, and the trees themselves aren't doing anything when they're bare. So they're just like, it's just kind of like hitting you, or you feel it more. It's like crisp. And that's kind of what the backup vocals and the music during the chorus was doing for me.
Yeah. And then you have that like harmony line in the last two choruses that he repeats, where he like brings in the like low end harmony that he's kind of doing. That kind of like that I feel like that kind of adds. It's like the night has fallen at that point, and like it kind of adds that little bit of like goosebumpsy kind of narrator like ooh part to it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. To be fair, I don't actually know what you're talking about, but guess what? We're gonna play it right here. The Christmas ghouls are strolling. Those tumbleweeds are rolling in. Expect your heart still beating. Out searching for meaning.
Oh, man. Now you see what I'm talking about, Adam?
Now I hear it. Now I see it.
Now you see. Yeah. The chains do a lot. There's one of the things we haven't talked about yet, and I'm curious if you felt like this. Do you get any like Christmas Carol vibes from this?
Christmas Carol. Yes. That's what so you were talking about Gremlins and stuff, and I was thinking Scrooge.
Okay. Yeah, like the chains.
That's
like,
what you're talking about, right? You're not talking about like Christmas. You're not talking about like I'm
not talking about like Silent Night, right? I'm not talking about like going caroling. I'm talking about like that.
Yeah, that's what I get. I get Scrooge, Christmas Carol, the story. Yeah, that's what it feels like. It feels like when
Moriarty.
Is his name Marty?
Moriarty, I think.
Who?
Moriarty. I think it's Moriarty.
Is that from the book? Because it's definitely not from the movie.
I think his name is Moriarty. Or is that the bad guy in Sherlock Holmes?
Anyway,
his partner who's dead.
Yeah, his partner who's dead comes back to haunt him, and that's what that reminds me of, is those chains.
I appreciate
also Pink Floyd, but yeah.
I appreciate the haunting in Christmas Story is like for Scrooge's like good, you know? Like most hauntings are like, this ghost hates you and wants you to have a terrible life. And
Yeah, I
and
want to
in
kill.
that one, it's
Yeah,
like his buddy comes to him and he's like, "Dude, we've messed up. Like we've spent our lives doing some real shady stuff, and it sucks. And it sucks being dead, having done all that stuff. Don't do it anymore." And he's like giving him like a Hail Mary, you know. He's like trying to like save Scrooge's life,
yeah.
which is interesting if we want to like. I don't want to fully transition into the lyric stuff, but like it does make me think about the one line
Do a
from
transition.
the verse of like out searching for the meaning, you know, from the chorus. It's like their spectral hearts still beating, out searching for meaning.
Makes me wonder if he had Christmas Carol in mind when he wrote this.
I wonder. I could see it. I could totally see it.
I mean, it's a pretty popular story. It's not like it's niche.
Yeah, and Dave's a pretty well read guy.
Sure.
I do want to talk just for a moment about like just the chunky like rhythm guitar that's going on through it that
Okay.
I feel like is your anchor point, right? Like that's the thing you can hold on to as we're going through like the weirdness of the rest of the instrumentation throughout this piece. You know, like you've got this like nice, clear, chunky guitar as all of the other pieces are kind of like fading in and out and like wailing and like there's that like wind kind of stuff that you're talking about where it feels like you're kind of in the wind tunnel. And I thought that was kind of interesting. I'm not sure what to make of it. It might just be like you kind of need something, you know, to hold on to.
Yeah. So the song isn't just flailing around.
Yeah, like that and the drums kind of anchor it, I think.
It could just be a heartbeat. I don't know. I just pulled that one out of the air.
Like a heartbeat, like the heart's still beating while they're searching for meaning, or maybe closer now by the heart's warm glow, which I'm not sure if it's heart's warm glow or hearth's warm glow in the final verse. But do we want to talk about the lyrics?
I was actually going to say I'm glad that you bring up lyrics because this song, I feel like all of them. Every time we sit down to talk about them, I can't remember all the lyrics, and I can't remember what specifically about the lyrics that I liked. So I want you to take away the lyrics. I want you to.
I want to do the section where I ask you what you think the song is about, and then I will because I actually you mentioned like not having the lyrics. I wrote them down while I listened, so I actually have the lyrics. So what do you think the song is about? If you were to try to like just engage the lyrics.
Silence. So when I think at first pass, not at first pass, I had told you last week I listened to it quite a bit on a walk I took. And I took it as not Christmas past, but I took it as our past coming back to us. But again, the only way I would really be able to flesh out what I really thought about it was if I could actually see the lyrics. Because I only am going off of bits and pieces that I remember specifically.
That's interesting, though. Like our past coming back to us.
Like our past. So what the reason why I thought of that is because the Christmas ghouls coming out of the woods. So I thought of them coming at a specific time, right? Maybe it's Christmas. But I thought of that as like our past is coming back to us. That we are interacting with our past in some way.
That's interesting. I think it's an interesting way to think about it. Yeah. So before I get into like that, like the straight up lyrics, I'm not going to read them all, but just kind of giving a perspective. Like, I thought about, for some reason, the Christmas ghouls are all wearing like suits to me. Like they were like wearing like gray business suits as they're coming out of the woods. I don't know why. Um, and like their spectral hearts are still beating and they're out there searching for meaning. Um, and it just made me think about like sort of the way in which like Christmas is full of it can be like sort of full of meaning, but also if you're kind of not a part of any of those traditions, right? If you're like maybe you don't have like family traditions, or you're not kind of part of like the religious traditions that surround Christmas, uh, like there's this time of intense meaning or like symbolism or whatever, but like you're kind of unanchored from it, and so you're kind of listless. Like people are there in their homes and there's like warmth in their homes, but you're like out in the cold. You're like coming out of the woods and you're wandering the city. This um, yeah. So that's kind of what I thought about when I first listened to it. Now the lyrics are yeah like the first verse is talking about like it's like the woods and the Christmas schools are coming out of it, um, and the chorus is those Christmas schools are strolling, those tumbleweeds are rolling in, the spectral heart's still beating, out searching for meaning. And then the Christmas ghouls come into the streets. They come into like some sort of city, and they're like neon lights, and you can kind of see like their shadows moving along the walls, um, and like kind of weird ghostly whispers are on the wind. And then the third verse and the final verse is like is I am going to read this one like closer now by the heart's warm glow darkness lingers whispers and I think it says no whispers no I'm not sure um, through frosted windows eyes unknown Christmas ghouls claim this is their home, and then it goes back to the chorus one more time. And so like yeah, you've like the movement from the woods to the city to like looking through some window at like a warm scene. It's kind of the vibe I get. And then they claim that this is their home. Like that, I think that's part of like the idea of like being unanchored to me, like kind of, or like estrangement almost, like being estranged from the warmth of community or whatever, family connection, the holiday, something like that. Instead, you're a Christmas ghoul, and your spectral heart, your ghostly heart is still beating. You're still kind of alive, um, but you're listless. You're out there searching.
It's really deep, and you definitely took it a lot further than what I thought we were going to take it. But I appreciate it because I don't even think I got that when I listened to it multiple times.
Mm.
I don't think I ever got the looking through the window bit that he talks about. What are your final thoughts on this song?
Well, it's a weird song. I don't know when I would like necessarily like. I don't know when the right time to listen to it is exactly, but I feel like I'm glad that it's on here, and um, yeah, I feel like there are probably a lot of folks who feel similarly about having a kind of listless connection to Christmas, and it's cool to have a song that kind of plays in that space. What about you, Adam?
That's good. My final thoughts on this song, man, I still think I go back to it's an acid trip in the woods. It's yeah, it's this one's a tough one for me because, like I said, it's not my favorite one on the EP either. I think Dave has a really good one. The next one, and I don't know if it's because I relate to it more, or if it's because it just really connects to me more, or it's like more of a up to date thing. Yeah, I don't know when I would listen to this one. I do think this song does capture that feeling that I've talked about,
Mm-hmm.
the feeling of like the wind and the feeling of like, you talked about gray, and that's kind of how I felt. I didn't really feel gray suits, but just gray in general. Felt very like just winter, right? Overcast. Everything is like dead for the most part, or dormant. And so I feel like the song does capture that. It's just not my, it's not my, it's not a bop, as we'll get to a few other ones.
It's not a bop.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, because I know in the past we've talked about like our relationships with Christmas, like, do you feel like it kind of connects in any way with some of the ways you feel about Christmas and like that you've mentioned in the past?
Possibly. I could definitely see it in when you're like talking about looking at how Christmas, or how like when you talk about looking into a window that's like warm, or you're like looking into like how other people do Christmas or how other people celebrate the holidays. I think that you can see that. I can see that as like I can see the struggle in that because, I've said this before on this podcast, around holidays is a big fighting time for, at least for, it's a lot of fights for a lot of families, and mine included, right? When family gets together, it turns into that versus this like happy-go-lucky, thing that, is, people are like, I'm happy it's Christmas. They're like, it's Christmas. And they're like excited for it. And sometimes I don't think that that's necessarily always going to be the case. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes me think, like, I've never heard a Christmas song that's about the fights that happen around the holidays. And that would be kind of interesting.
Well, we can put it on the list to tell Dave and Bran.
I'm going to ask Santa for it.
Santa. Ask Santa.
Yeah.
That's good.
All right. Well, shall we close it down?
Shut it down.
All right.
So this is the Winter Fanboys podcast. I'm Adam.
I'm Ben. Stay frosty, my friends.
Yep.